It's a beautiful night for music here at St. John Bosco Church in Cunningham. I'm so happy to have Sarah Hart with us. We're happy to have her in the area, national recording artist, really well known with Christian music and coming to our area. Thank you, number one. And number two, what is this like for you? I'm sure you've played some big venues all over the place. To come into a church, a little bit smaller atmosphere, to interact with the people in the area for a little bit. I know you did a workshop here. What is this experience like for you?
Oh, well, I love going to the small places.
Yeah.
I do a lot of the big things, but the small churches and the small groups are always my favorite. It usually gives you more of an opportunity to really get to know people, meet people, hug people, talk to everyone, which you don't always get to do at a big venue. So, and this has been really like coming home for me because I didn't grow up too far away from here, about 5 hours from here, in southeastern Ohio. So the area looks very similar, and all the feels are all the same. I don't even know how to say that, but you actually have fall here, which we don't in Nashville. So it's kind of like coming home for me in a weird way. And I grew up in a small parish like this, so very sweet.
I wanted to ask too, I just spoke with someone who was only a freshman in high school, but she's in the marching band here in the area, and she was teaching me about music theory and about minors and majors, and I was so fascinated. Playing in a small venue like this, especially a church, I mean, the atmosphere at this time of day is just beautiful as well, around twilight, but the sound, just everything that comes together. As an artist, what is it like for you as you're playing and you're sitting there? Do you get to take it in?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question, Kenny. Nobody really ever asks me that. So sometimes, yes. Sometimes I feel like, especially when I'm doing a song where I'm inviting people in to sing or inviting people in to pray, then I really feel it. I just try to enjoy the presence of the crowd and enjoy the time that we're having together. So I never like to feel like I'm singing at people. I always want to sing with people and pray with people and rejoice with people. So if that helps you understand that a little bit.
Absolutely.
But it is a weird career path for sure, and it's a humbling place to be because, you're up there and people are there listening to your heart and your words and how you feel and your voice, and it can be really exposing but really beautiful at the same time.
The first thing I noticed, I clicked on one of your songs, Haunting, it just brought me in, and that was the first thing that came to it. It hooked me from the first note. I just felt, I felt something. Talk about that and just some of your music for us.
Gosh, thank you. Yeah, well, that's kind of what we aim for, right? I mean, I think music is in an interesting place right now. There's a lot of it being done and a lot of it being written, and I think for me, what's important about music is connecting. I'm not just in it to write a good dance groove or make a buck or whatever. Well, nobody in music is in it to make a buck, but definitely I think for me the point is connection. Is it going to be helpful to somebody? Is it going to move somebody? Is it going to reach somebody? Is it going to maybe help somebody think differently about a situation they're in? So these are the things that I always think of when I'm a songwriter. So I'm glad to hear you say that, because that's sort of the goal for me as a writer and an artist.
How would you describe your music? Someone who's like me, getting introduced to you, and you said, hey, this is a little bit, how would you describe yourself?
Oh, I don't know. A little bit Appalachia,
Yeah.
A little bit pop, a little bit contemporary Christian, a little bit church girl, a little bit folk girl, and kind of everything in between. And if people want a reference, people always say that I sound like Sean Colvin. I don't know if I do, but...
Was it always, I want to do something with my faith? I want to, was this always a part of your life, if I could ask? And was it something that you were like, I want to share this through my music? It was always the vision.
Yeah, the vision for me was definitely not music. I always did music from a very early age. My family was very musical. I grew up in an extremely musical community of people, so there were always instruments and singers and people writing new things, and so that was always around me. And but I kind of wanted to be an archaeologist or maybe a doctor. I don't know. And then my band director one day just pulled me into his office and said, girl, you're going to be a musician. You just can't help yourself. And he was right. So I found it to be a very rewarding path. In terms of the faith, I wasn't sure that would be a part of it. I feel like that was just something that I was led to. and I don't even know how. I couldn't explain it, but then do we always have to explain God? Sometimes things are just mystery. So it was just mystery to me, and I just entered that path. And so now I do a lot of church music, but I also write film, TV music, and I also write music for kids' cartoons and all kinds of things in between. Yeah, so I get to do a lot of everything.
That's really interesting. Anything with film or TV that like we would recognize, or?
Well, I've had a couple songs on Netflix recently, some shows on Netflix, and a couple commercials, and I work a lot with Scholastic, so if any of people's children or grandchildren have the Scholastic videos, I write a lot of that music too. So yeah.
What song should I go and listen to from you? Like if it's going to be, like I said, I kind of had a crash course in this coming here, but if you said, hey, I want you to listen to this or take something, what would you suggest?
Right now in this world, I would love for everybody to listen to a song called Do No Harm. And it's a song that I wrote for my daughter when she graduated high school. But I think it's so relevant to all of us. And in this world where we're all so at war over various things, just to kind of carry the mindset of being people of peace who try our best to love and not do harm to the world, that's the way to be.
What's some of the nicest things you've heard as people are complimenting you or talking to you at a show?
Oh gosh, I hear so many lovely things. And I always say this, like I'm in being a musician, it's a bit of a privileged place. You're very privileged to get to do what you do. It's a lot of luck and it's a lot of chance, and so you have to be grateful for it every time you do it. And I'm so grateful, and I think I love the most after a concert when people come up to me and tell me that a song reached them, but I get to hear about their story. So I spend an hour and a half telling them my story, but then afterwards I get to hear their story. So we become part of each other's lives in that way. We make a connection in that way. So it's special to me every time a song reaches somebody. There's never a time when that doesn't bowl me over and doesn't feel really special.
You're getting ready for your show. You've done this a lot, but what is this moment like for you? Is it just second nature now, or you're just like, all right, I'm just going out there?
It's pretty much second nature. Yeah, it is. When I first started doing it, I was terrified every time, but I've been doing it for 25 years now, so I'm not as terrified. But I do always say the same thing before I go out there, so I pray this little prayer that my friend taught me, and that's just, Lord, move me out of the way. So I've seen a lot of artists on stage who are like, they're in their own way, they get in their own headspace, or they're maybe a little too full of themselves, or they like their music too much. So I always ask to be moved out of the way so that the music can kind of come through and speak for itself.
Anything else I didn't hit on you feel is important about your career you want people to know, or just in general?
You know, I think the thing I'm proudest of in my life is that I've been married for 30 years on Monday. And I know, and I've got 2 beautiful daughters, so those are the things I'm actually really the most proud of in my life. It's been a good life, and they're good people, and what gifts to me. Yeah, family is everything.